Across the globe, human trafficking is the third largest organized crime after drugs and the arms trade. And according to the United States Department of Justice, there are nearly 15,000 people trafficked into our country every year. But although a large percentage of these victims are brought in from overseas, the majority are Americans trafficked inside the United States. A new Frontline documentary titled Sex Trafficking in America gives us an inside look at the harsh reality of the $32 billion a year industry through the eyes of its survivors and undercover police. Let's take a quick look.
Sex trafficking in America.
What happened to me could happen to anyone.
For over 2 years, Frontline embedded with a special police unit.
Without customers, there's no girls out there. Our work is constantly evolving.
Technology has given a super highway for traffickers to vulnerable victims.
From the streets to the courts.
It's difficult to think of something more despicable than that. You and your co-defendants preyed on a child.
Watch online or on air starting May 28th.
Joining us now is the documentary's producer, Lauren Mucciolo. Lauren, welcome to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So what was it about this topic that attracted you as a documentary producer to say, I want to tell this story?
Well, we started doing research on this film in 2015, so it's been a long, long journey. So back in 2015, you didn't hear very much about this issue. It's in the past year, we've heard more about it in the mainstream news, but back then, it really wasn't a topic of conversation. So what brought my partner, Jezza Newman, and I to the story was we were in the process of researching stories, and Jezza's production company, True Vision, has done a number of films on trafficking in other countries. And as he was doing research, he came across this stat that in the United States, most of the trafficking that goes on is of American born and bred women and girls, and also boys and men, but largely women and girls. And so that was such an astonishing fact to the both of us. We said, this is the story that we need to do.
I am absolutely certain you're right that there are an enormous number of misconceptions, and people are going to be terribly surprised by a lot of this, including what we mentioned in the introduction, the fact that you're talking about, if you will, homegrown trafficked victims as opposed to people brought in from other countries. So let's start with the police department. Again, I was a prosecutor, and I know from my experience that, understandably, some police departments might be leery of the idea of having a documentary film producer follow them around with cameras. Was this department initially okay with this, or was there some reluctance or hesitation? And when they finally decided, yes, we're in, how in were they?
So it was a process. You know, my partner and I, we went around the country to quite a few different agencies to try to find the right place to tell the story, a place that would give us access, the place that would give us good characters so that we'd be able to tell that story well, and the place where we could develop the right relationships. And so it's an interesting cocktail to find all of those pieces. And so what we found when we got to Phoenix was law enforcement got along with the service providers got along with the prosecutors. So there was a lot of healthy relationships already in place, and people were very comfortable talking to each other. So when we arrived with an interest, you know, obviously they were leery at first. So we are journalists, but they heard us out. We gave our spiel. And at first, I'd say about half of the unit, it was a unit of about 12 folks when we first started filming, said that they were okay with the idea. The other half of the 12 said, well, you know, why don't you guys come do a little bit of filming and we'll see what we think. And it was just a journey to kind of really develop that trust. And we filmed over 3 years.
As you know, as a film producer, you can have a marvelous idea, a marvelous story, but it needs to be told through people. So you talked about the police. How about finding somebody, a survivor of the sex trafficking industry? How difficult was that, and who did you find?
That was a very difficult process. And you also have to be, as a filmmaker doing this kind of issue, you really need to be thoughtful about somebody that you bring in and to share their story. Somebody who's been through such tremendous trauma. You need to find somebody who has, you know, the support around them to be able to withstand sharing the details of their story. So it's, you know, really on both sides. You have to find the right combination. So what we did is, we worked closely with the police, and as they were developing various cases, they would kind of let us know if there was a survivor that they came across in their work who they thought would be a good person for us to meet. And so that's how those relationships started. We also built a relationship very early on with some of the service providers in Phoenix. So they all knew who we were. They knew who we were about. We came and met with them. We spent time in some of their facilities and met some of their survivors. So again, we built that trust and rapport very early on with all the players. So when it came time to finally start meeting survivors, everybody knew who we were already and saw the way that we worked. So it was just, working with survivors, it's just important to go slow. It's important for them to understand that it's a two-way street, that they can share as much as they want. And, you'll ask as many questions as it seems like they're comfortable to answer. And maybe a year from now, we'll be in a different position than we are in the beginning. So just being willing to go on that journey and take the time that it needs was the key to make the survivor piece of the story work.
You mentioned in the beginning the notion of misperceptions, and I think one of the major ones might be if you ask people out on the street about trafficking, human trafficking, they have these images that are perpetuated through television and movies about women being, tied up and handcuffed and brought in tractor trailer boxes from around the world here to the U.S. But what you found in terms of again, we're talking about women, mostly young women, here in the United States was much more nuanced and much subtler in terms of how they get recruited, if that's the right word, or drawn in, maybe that's a better way, drawn into this business. I don't want to do your whole documentary in our conversation here, but were you surprised at what you found in terms of the nuances there? Yeah,
so we came across a figure early on when we were doing our research, and some of the statistics on this issue get very, very muddy. But the first stat that we saw was that 85% of victims of domestic trafficking are American born and bred individuals, and 15% are foreign born. When we were down on the ground in Arizona, which is a border state, we did not see one victim who was from a foreign country. We only saw victims who were from America. And at that, most of them were from Phoenix. So it was the trafficking that we saw was trafficking that happened locally. It happened, if it does happen across state lines, it's from Arizona to California or Arizona to Las Vegas. It was, the geography of it is much smaller than I think the perception is out there. So what we found on the ground wasn't what we had imagined whatsoever.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it's a marvelous film. But, we often talk about filmmaking. You want to make people think. You want to reveal things that they did not otherwise know, and I think you've certainly done that here. It's a compelling story, a revealing story, and in many ways a very troubling story, but it's marvelous filmmaking. Lauren, I want to thank you for spending some time with us, and we appreciate your work, and we appreciate you being with us. Now, you take care.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And a reminder for you folks, Frontline's documentary, Sex Trafficking in America, will premiere May 28th on 13. Make sure you visit us at metrofocus.org for more details.